Imagine this. You're standing at a crossroads, the wind whipping around you, carrying whispers of obligations, expectations, the relentless demands of a world that never seems to stop asking. In one direction lies a path paved with yes. Yes to another project you don't have time for. Yes to a social engagement that drains your energy. Yes to a request that chips away at your soul. Yes to a life lived on someone else's terms. The other path, shrouded in mist, is barely visible. A faint track marked by a single defiant word: no. Which path feels heavier? Which path tugs at your gut, whispering of a freedom you've almost forgotten? We live in a culture obsessed with more. More productivity, more connections, more achievements, more things. We're told that saying yes is the key to success, to happiness, to a life well lived. Open every door, seize every opportunity, be everything to everyone. This relentless pursuit of more has become the modern mantra, a silent commandment etched into the fabric of our daily lives. But what if this very commandment is a carefully constructed lie? What if the relentless pursuit of yes is the very thing that's keeping you chained? Consider this paradox. You say yes to everything, hoping to build a life of abundance and fulfillment. Yet, with each yes, you feel your life becoming smaller, more constricted, a suffocating tapestry woven from the threads of other people's desires. You're constantly busy, perpetually exhausted, running on an endless treadmill of commitments, yet somehow you feel empty. You're surrounded by people, yet profoundly alone. You're achieving, yet unfulfilled. You are everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Why is it that the more you say yes, the less you feel like yourself? Why does the path of least resistance lead to the greatest internal conflict? Why does the seemingly harmless act of agreeing become a subtle form of self-betrayal? Think about all the times you've said yes, when every fiber of your being screamed no. Remember the knot in your stomach, the subtle resentment that simmered beneath the surface, the quiet voice of your intuition that was drowned out by the chorus of external pressures. Remember the feeling of being trapped, of living a life that wasn't truly yours. What if the secret to a truly meaningful life isn't about adding more, but about subtracting? What if the key to unlocking your potential, to finding genuine happiness, to reclaiming your autonomy, lies not in the constant accumulation of yeses, but in the courageous embrace of no? What if the most powerful word you can utter, the word that holds the key to your liberation, is the very word you've been conditioned to fear? What if learning to say no isn't an act of selfishness, but an act of profound self-respect? What if, beneath the surface of societal expectations and ingrained guilt, lies a deeper, more fundamental truth about the nature of freedom and the human spirit? This isn't about becoming a recluse or a cynic. It's about something far more profound, far more essential to your well-being. It's about understanding the hidden power dynamic at play, the subtle forces that shape your choices, and the ultimate cost of living a life dictated by the demands of others. It is time to dig in a little deeper. It is time to understand what lies beneath this simple two-letter word. Because the ability to say no, to wield it with intention and clarity, is not merely a skill. It is a rebellion. A rebellion against the unseen forces that seek to control your time, your energy, and ultimately, your destiny. Prepare to confront a truth that will challenge everything you thought you knew about success, happiness, and the very nature of a life well lived. Prepare to discover the liberating power of no. The problem isn't simply saying yes too often. The problem is the why behind the yes. It's the underlying fear, the ingrained conditioning, the subtle yet pervasive belief system that fuels our compulsive compliance. This isn't about politeness or being helpful. It's about a deeper, more insidious force that operates beneath the level of conscious awareness. Consider Carl Jung's concept of the shadow. The shadow represents the aspects of ourselves that we repress, deny, or disown. The parts we deem unacceptable, unworthy, or undesirable. Often, the inability to say no stems from a deep-seated fear of rejection, a fear of disrupting the perceived harmony, a fear of being seen as bad or selfish. These fears are rooted in the shadow, in the unconscious belief that our worthiness is conditional, that we must constantly earn our place in the world by pleasing others. This fear is amplified by societal conditioning. From a young age, we're bombarded with messages that equate yes with goodness and no with negativity. We're rewarded for being agreeable, compliant, and accommodating. We're taught to prioritize the needs of others above our own, to be selfless, to avoid conflict at all costs. This conditioning creates a powerful internal conflict, the desire for autonomy versus the fear of disapproval. Friedrich Nietzsche, in his critique of slave morality, argued that societal norms often serve to suppress individual will and power. He believed that the emphasis on selflessness and obedience was a tool used by the weak to control the strong. While his perspective is undeniably harsh, it highlights a crucial point. The constant pressure to say yes can be a form of subtle coercion, a way to keep individuals from realizing their full potential. Aldous Huxley, in Brave New World, paints a chilling picture of a society engineered for conformity, where happiness is manufactured through distraction and instant gratification. The citizens of this dystopia are conditioned to avoid discomfort, to seek pleasure, and to never question the status quo. The inability to say no is a cornerstone of this control, a way to ensure that individuals remain docile and compliant, never challenging the system that keeps them enslaved. Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist philosopher, emphasized radical freedom and responsibility. He argued that we are condemned to be free, that we are always making choices, even when we believe we have none. The failure to say no is, in Sartre's view, a form of bad faith, a denial of our own freedom and a refusal to take responsibility for our lives. It's a way of letting others define our existence, of living inauthentically. Even Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust who went to become a successful psychiatrist, recognized this. Though he focused primarily on how humans find meaning, even in extreme suffering, his concept of tragic optimism underscores a profound truth. Even in the face of impossible choices, when we're seemingly left with nothing, we always have the choice of how we respond. Even if we can't change a situation immediately, we can say no to allowing it to break us. This constant pressure to conform, to please, to avoid conflict, creates a state of chronic low-level stress. It depletes our energy, erodes our self-esteem, and undermines our sense of self. We become so accustomed to prioritizing the needs of others that we lose touch with our own desires, our own values, our own inner compass. The inability to say no isn't just a personal failing. It's a symptom of a deeper societal malaise, a reflection of a culture that values conformity over authenticity, productivity over presence, and external validation over inner peace. It's a silent epidemic that leaves us feeling perpetually depleted, perpetually disconnected, perpetually searching for something more, while ironically, the more we seek is found in the courageous act of saying less. But what are the unseen consequences of this constant self-suppression? How does this seemingly harmless habit of saying yes silently shape our lives, our relationships, and our very sense of self? The answers are far more disturbing and far more liberating than you might imagine. The erosion of the self is a gradual, insidious process, but it leaves an indelible mark on every aspect of our existence. The inability to say no isn't a minor inconvenience. It's a slow, subtle erosion of your life force. It manifests in ways you might not immediately recognize, weaving its way into the fabric of your reality, subtly shaping your choices, your relationships, and your overall well-being. Think of it like a cognitive bias, a hidden program running in the background of your mind. One of the most relevant is the acquiescence bias, the tendency to agree with statements regardless of their content. This bias, amplified by societal pressure, makes you more likely to accept requests, demands, and expectations, even when they contradict your own needs and desires. You become a prisoner of your own politeness, trapped in a cycle of agreement that slowly drains your vitality. This constant yes mode also triggers neurological responses. Chronic stress, fueled by the suppression of your own needs, elevates cortisol levels, impacting your physical and mental health. You might experience fatigue, anxiety, digestive issues, or even a weakened immune system. Your brain, constantly bombarded with demands and obligations, becomes wired for reactivity rather than responsiveness. You lose the ability to pause, reflect, and make conscious choices. You're living in a state of perpetual fight or flight, reacting to external stimuli rather than acting from a place of inner clarity. Consider the concept of learned helplessness, a psychological state where you believe you have no control over your situation. Repeatedly saying yes when you want to say no reinforces this sense of powerlessness. You begin to feel like a passenger in your own life, swept along by the currents of other people's expectations. This learned helplessness can lead to depression, apathy, and a profound sense of disconnection from your own desires and aspirations. The consequences ripple outward into your relationships. By constantly prioritizing the needs of others, you inadvertently teach them that your boundaries are negotiable, that your time and energy are readily available. This can lead to unbalanced relationships, where you're consistently giving more than you receive. You might find yourself surrounded by people who take advantage of your generosity, leaving you feeling resentful, used, and emotionally depleted. The most insidious consequence, however, is the erosion of your sense of self. With each yes that contradicts your inner truth, you chip away at your identity. You become a chameleon, constantly adapting to the expectations of others, losing touch with who you truly are and what you truly want. You begin to define yourself by your roles and responsibilities, rather than by your values and passions. This loss of self is often accompanied by a pervasive sense of unease, a vague feeling that something is off. You might find yourself questioning your choices, wondering why you're not happier, why you feel so unfulfilled despite your seemingly successful life. This is the quiet voice of your authentic self, struggling to be heard beneath the noise of external demands. Cultural conditioning plays a significant role in perpetuating this cycle. We're bombarded with messages that equate busyness with worthiness, that equate self-sacrifice with virtue. We're told to hustle, to grind, to constantly strive for more, even at the expense of our own well-being. This relentless pursuit of external validation leaves us feeling perpetually inadequate, perpetually chasing an elusive ideal that can never be attained. The unseen consequences of not saying no are a silent epidemic, a widespread malaise that affects individuals and society as a whole. It leads to burnout, resentment, strained relationships, and a profound sense of disconnection from ourselves and our purpose. It perpetuates a culture of overwork, overcommitment, and chronic dissatisfaction. But there is a way out. There is a path to reclaiming your power, your autonomy, and your authentic self. It begins with a radical shift in perspective, a willingness to challenge the ingrained beliefs and societal pressures that have kept you trapped. It begins with the courageous act of rebellion. The rebellion begins not with a grand gesture, but with a quiet, internal shift. It starts with the radical realization that your time, your energy, and your well-being are not infinite resources to be dispensed at the whim of others. It starts with understanding that saying no is not an act of selfishness, but an act of self-preservation, an affirmation of your own inherent worth. The first step is to challenge the deeply ingrained belief that your value is tied to your productivity or your willingness to please others. This is a lie, a societal construct designed to keep you perpetually striving, perpetually dissatisfied. Your worth is inherent. It exists independent of your achievements, your possessions, or your ability to meet the expectations of others. Embrace the counterintuitive truth. Saying no often creates more space for what truly matters. By setting boundaries, you're not closing yourself off. You're creating room for the things that nourish your soul, the things that align with your values and your passions. You're creating space for deeper connections, for more meaningful work, for a life lived on your own terms. Consider historical examples of individuals who dared to say no. Rosa Parks, refusing to give up her seat on the bus, sparked a revolution. Nelson Mandela, enduring decades of imprisonment rather than compromise his principles, became a symbol of freedom. These acts of defiance, seemingly small at the time, had profound and lasting consequences. They demonstrate the power of no to challenge injustice, to uphold dignity, and to inspire change. But the rebellion doesn't have to be grand or public. It can be as simple as declining a social invitation that drains your energy, setting limits on your work hours, or refusing to engage in gossip or negativity. It's about making conscious choices, aligned with your inner truth, rather than blindly reacting to external pressures. Here's a practical framework for reclaiming your power. Practice self-awareness. Pay attention to your internal signals. Notice the physical sensations, the emotions, the thoughts that arise when you're asked to do something. Does it feel expansive or constricting? Does it energize you or deplete you? Trust your intuition. It's a powerful guide. Start small. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Begin with small, manageable no's. Decline a minor request. Postpone a commitment. Set a small boundary. Each successful no builds your confidence and strengthens your resolve. Develop a no script. Prepare phrases you can use to decline requests gracefully and assertively. Thank you for thinking of me, but I'm not able to commit to that right now. I appreciate the offer, but I'm prioritizing other things at the moment. I'm not the best person for this, but I can recommend someone who might be. Challenge your guilt. Recognize that guilt is often a conditioned response, not a reflection of reality. Ask yourself, am I truly obligated to do this? Is this my responsibility? What's the worst that could happen if I say no? Embrace discomfort. Saying no will likely feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're accustomed to pleasing others. Embrace the discomfort. It's a sign that you're breaking free from old patterns. The discomfort will lessen over time as you build new, healthier habits. Reframe rejection. Understand that when you say no to something, you're not rejecting the person. You're protecting your own time and energy. A healthy relationship will respect your boundaries. Cultivate self-compassion. Be kind to yourself throughout this process. You're unlearning years of conditioning. It takes time and practice. Celebrate your small victories, and don't beat yourself up for slip-ups. This rebellion is not about becoming a hermit or a misanthrope. It's about cultivating discernment, about choosing consciously where you invest your time and energy. It's about creating a life that is aligned with your values, your passions, and your deepest desires. It's about becoming the author of your own story, rather than a character in someone else's. The power of no is not just about setting boundaries. It's about reclaiming your power, your autonomy, and your authentic self. It's about creating a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling, a life that is truly your own. And that leads us to the ultimate truth, the final, most powerful realization that will reshape your understanding of freedom and the human spirit. The ultimate truth, the paradigm shift that emerges from this journey of rebellion, is this: the power of no is not just about what you reject, it's about what you embrace. It's about the life you create in the space that no provides. It's about the profound freedom that arises when you are no longer bound by the expectations of others, when you are free to pursue your own path, to live in alignment with your own truth. Think of your life as a garden. Every yes you utter is a seed you plant. If you plant too many seeds, if you plant seeds that don't belong, your garden becomes overgrown, choked with weeds, unable to flourish. Saying no is the act of weeding, of pruning, of creating space for the plants you truly want to cultivate. It's about tending to your garden with intention, ensuring that it receives the sunlight, the water, the nourishment it needs to thrive. The most powerful realization is that you are the gardener of your own life. You have the power to choose which seeds to plant, which weeds to remove, which flowers to nurture. You are not obligated to cultivate anything that doesn't bring you joy, fulfillment, or meaning. You are free to create a garden that reflects your unique beauty, your unique potential, your unique spirit. This is not a selfish act. It's an act of profound self-respect. When you are living in alignment with your truth, when you are honoring your own needs and desires, you are better able to show up for others in a genuine and meaningful way. You have more energy, more creativity, more compassion to offer. You become a source of inspiration, a beacon of authenticity, encouraging others to embrace their own freedom. The final, most powerful realization is that the fear of saying no is an illusion. It's a phantom created by societal conditioning, by the fear of rejection, by the deeply ingrained belief that our worth is conditional. But beneath that fear lies a deeper truth. Your worth is inherent. You are worthy of respect, of love, of happiness, simply by virtue of being human. The act of saying no is a declaration of this inherent worth. It's a statement that you value your time, your energy, your well-being. It's a refusal to compromise your integrity, to diminish your spirit, to live a life that is anything less than authentic. This is the ultimate freedom. The freedom to choose, the freedom to create, the freedom to be. It's the freedom that arises when you are no longer bound by external pressures, when you are living in alignment with your inner truth. It's the freedom that comes from knowing that you are the master of your own destiny, the architect of your own life.
So as you stand at that crossroads once more, the wind whispering its relentless demands, remember the power of no. Remember the garden you are cultivating, the life you are creating. Remember that every no is a yes to something more profound, something more authentic, something more deeply aligned with your soul. Don't be afraid to embrace the discomfort, to challenge the expectations, to defy the norms. Don't be afraid to say no to the things that drain your energy, that diminish your spirit, that keep you from living your fullest, most vibrant life. For in the courageous act of saying no, you will discover a freedom you never thought possible. You will discover the power to create a life that is truly your own, a life filled with purpose, with passion, with profound and lasting joy. You will discover the ultimate truth that the power to shape your destiny lies within you, waiting to be unleashed, waiting to be embraced, waiting for you to simply say, "Oh, yeah." No. And in that single defiant word, a new world will begin, a world of your own making.